Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can see you. I can see you. Very handsome, and such a pleasure to finally meet you. Where are you?
Right.
Yeah, where are you?
Los Angeles.
Okay. Yeah, I'm up. No, I'm in New York State, a little north of New York City. I'm one of those people that fled.
All right. Yeah.
At
Good
least
for
for the
you.
time, at
Yeah,
least for the
yeah.
time being. Are you? Have you been primarily quarantining for a while? Can I ask?
Yes, I'm disciplined.
It's the German or Bavarian strain. Well, I'm
Not
just going to
really. It's common. No. It's common sense.
very well said. Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to make sure I had a backup. Okay. It was funny. I was going through. What should I call you, Mr. Herzog? Is that what do you prefer?
Yeah, Werner, it's okay. Just
Oh,
go ahead.
all right. Well, my name's Adam. Anyway, so I was going through some of my favorites of yours because I like to watch your movies, or films I like a lot over and over time. So this is one of my favorites. Little Dieter Needs to Fly, and then Grizzly Man and My Best Fiend, among others. So I have them, and now I have a new one to add to it, which is Nomad.
Yeah, but you're only speaking about some documentaries. My real
Well,
work is feature films.
I know, but I was kind of trying to maybe focus today on. I mean, I could do 10 hours with you on your on your narrative films. In fact, one was based on a work by Bruce Chatwin. So you've
Yes,
been
yeah,
right, COBRA VERDE.
yes.
Yeah, one of the great films. I was thinking a lot about what the appeal, and I'm sure there were lots of reasons why you connected so deeply with Bruce Chatwin. Um, uh, but I thought about your films and him, and I was thinking that he was like this conduit to asking these big questions about the universe and humanity, our purpose here, and all these questions that kind of have consumed you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, I think we had a very similar worldview. And because of that, it was easy to meet on a specific wavelength. And that didn't need any introduction.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when we met, which was in Australia, we had an immediate rapport. And in fact, I picked him up at the airport in Melbourne, where he was not meant to fly. He was flying back from Central Australia via Sydney to England. And I said to him, in a bizarre coincidence or so, I made contact with him and I said, no, just make a stopover in Melbourne. And from the moment I picked him up, we started to tell stories. It was a true marathon
Mm-hmm.
of non-stop storytelling. So, and we didn't need any introduction to each other. He carried in his rucksack, which he gave me later when he
Yeah.
died, he carried my book of Walking in Ice without knowing he would run into me.
It's remarkable. You have the rucksack. Is it with you in Los Angeles? Speaking of which, the rucksack.
Yeah, 2 arm lengths away from me.
Oh wow, yeah.
But it's not you see, it's not a souvenir. It's not something symbolic. I use it. It accompanies me when I'm out
Yeah,
there.
and when you're doing treks.
The rucksack was most helpful when in Patagonia, when I did Scream of Stone. I was caught on a high ridge, inaccessible, for mountain climbers in a blizzard. And we had to dig, we were 3 men, we had to dig an ice cave quickly, so to survive. Not much larger than a barrel, a big wine barrel. And we spent there 55 hours.
Yeah.
And so, but I sat on Chatwin's rucksack, which gave some isolation to the ice on which I was sitting.
Yeah.
It was helpful. It was a great thing to have. It's a piece of equipment that I use.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. That's you talk about it in the film. In fact, there's it plays almost like a character in the film, the rucksack.
Yeah.
But you don't talk about it nostalgically. You don't seem to be nostalgic. Am I wrong to say that, or because you refer to something which somebody else may have picked up the rucksack, right, and embraced it and been brought to tears talking about it, and memories of Bruce, who passed away many years ago now. That doesn't seem to be what you're about, though.
Well, I'm not tearful. I know what we have lost when he died too early, and everybody who reads his books knows it. And otherwise, we always had a very pragmatic sort of relationship, which went very, very deep sometimes. So at the same time, we were very cautious with each other.
Yeah.
We were not friends. We were not buddies who would go out to the bar and raise hell in town or something. Not that kind of friendship.
What kind of friendship would you just sort of just this? I guess it comes through in the film. I mean, you have these common passions and questions. I mean, and that preoccupies you both, right? Or preoccupied you both.
Kindred spirits.
Right.
Kindred spirits. And then in our worldview, we had very similar ways of thinking and assessing our situation here on this planet.
Have you come to any conclusions? Because I'm looking for answers right now, so it'd be helpful. Do you have any wise advice or anything you learned from your time here? I mean, it's pretty. The questions deal with pretty existential type of subject matter. So, but but Nomad, which is the name of the film, it explores. It really does explore your bond. And interestingly, you didn't come up with the idea of doing this documentary, right? It was brought to you.
Yes, the BBC approached me and they said it's going to be the 40th anniversary of Bruce Chatwin's death. And we want to make a film, and we thought about you, and I said to them, fine, yes, I'm the only one who should do it. There's not much of a choice.
Yeah, right.
And of course, I didn't have to do any research or anything. I knew I could do it from one day to the next. Not that I ever had planned it, but the whole story or the whole relationship was in a way dormant in me.
Mm-hmm. Do you think
I only went back and I reread one or two of his books. That was my only preparation.
So what's the process then once you decide you're going to take on the project? Now, again, I say you decided, but it didn't sound like you had a choice in the matter. It was like, this is your next project, Mr. Herzog, But what's the next step? How do you then decide how you're going to lay out the film? Because it diverges into different areas, you described.
Well, it sounds very banal, but it's practical steps. I decided I would shoot in Australia, where we actually met and where he had done his research for the book on Aborigines, Songlines. And I knew I was going sooner or later, or very soon I was going to shoot in Tokyo for my feature film Family Romance, LLC. And in order to save on flight distances, I decided I would film in Japan, and from Japan fly to Northern Australia and then shoot in Central Australia. So it was practicalities. Otherwise, I would have had to cross the Pacific back to Los Angeles and then cross the Pacific all once again.
Right. Well, it's not that different than the way people shoot narrative films, right? If you don't shoot in order because you have maybe access to certain people or places only for a limited amount of time, right? So this was the more practical approach to it. But do you plot it out like in I don't know. I don't always jot down my questions, but I was kind of a little bit intimidated in the best of ways. So I wanted to make sure at least I had some things to refer to. I didn't want long, awkward pauses with you, so I plotted out on Post-its.
No, I never appear on a set with a catalog of questions, including, by the way, with Mikhail Gorbachev.
Yeah, that was
and he immediately noticed that I was a paperless, a paperless man sitting across from him. And he quickly realized that I was more a poet. I said, I'm not a journalist and I'm not a historian.
Yeah.
But of course, I've done my homework. I had read his autobiography and I had read quite a few things, even transcripts of sessions of the Supreme Soviet that are free for, you can access some of it now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew a lot, but I didn't want to approach him with a catalog of questions and rattle down things, and that would be that. I kept the door open for surprises. Same thing with Chatwin, or in being in Australia or being in Patagonia, where I also filmed, or being in France. I just went in with very, very lively curiosity. And that was basically that. And that leads you to surprising moments that you do not find.
Yeah.
When you, no, you don't have to destroy it.
I sort of, maybe you've had an impression, and I when I'm talking to people, I think you do your preparation, right? And you know the subject matter, you're already passionate about it, and then you just go in and you listen and you let this take some sort of organic shape, hopefully. Yes. So it's typically the way I do it. Maybe you watching your films over the years has had some sort of impact on somebody like myself, where I typically do that. But I kind of did want to scratch down some notes anyway, because although you did sit with Gorbachev, and that's pretty intimidating. But
not at all, because
not for you.
He radiates a warmth.
Yes, he does, and it comes
intelligence that is very captivating. So there's. It was rather me who was kind of intimidating for him, if at all. He had apparently seen some of my films.
Oh yeah.
And he knew I was not gonna do the small talk.
Right.
And it was also clear for him that it was probably the last major occasion where he would speak to a camera, or to speak to any journalist, for example. He would not, that he knew that was his final big sort of statement. And actually he hasn't done much, very, very sporadically small questions that came up, and he would issue one or two sentences, but that was basically that.
Well, yeah, the warmth comes through. I was very moved by that film, but like I'm prone to that.
We knew of each other, that we had a similar upbringing. Both of us very, very far
Yeah,
outside of the metropolis, in the utmost province. He near the Caucasus, I in the Bavarian mountains, and that both of us were hungry as children. We knew what that meant, and we had seen destroyed cities that normally, for example, Americans have not seen that on their soil, and on. So many things that were not dissimilar.
yeah, the blight. We see more kind of blight in our some cities that have gone through really
Yeah.
harsh times. I mean, I was once going to, I guess it had been many years since I'd been to Baltimore, and I was taking one of these buses from New York City to Baltimore, and I was going through there, and I'm from New York City, and so I've seen a lot, over the years. I lived through the 70s and 80s in New York, but when I got to Baltimore, it was I was just very astonished, where I'd see sometimes block after block of a shell of what was once probably a great part of the city, but had succumbed to real difficult times over the years.
Yeah, but it's a different
Yeah,
type of destruction. It
of
doesn't mean
course.
bombing into oblivion.
Yes. Yeah. So the well, first of all, again, it's called, what's the full title? I don't want to leave out. It's called Nomad. Your new documentary. It's called Nomad, and it's see, I threw away my notes now, but I believe it's I think it's the August 21st. It was delayed, obviously.
Yes, of course, we
August 26th. Excuse me, it's August 26th.
We plan to do it in, I think, April or so, the opening. But of course, 2 premieres of mine couldn't take place because of the coronavirus, and I had to postpone a workshop in the jungle of Amazonia.
Wait, say that bit again? I missed that last part. Your connection got.
I missed 2, or I had to postpone 2 premieres for films, and I also had to cancel a workshop with young filmmakers from all over the world.
Oh, I see.
Our place of meeting was in the jungle of Amazonia, actually in the country of Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And that was meant for end of April, beginning of May. In Colombia, the entire Amazon region is very, very severely hit. So that is postponed without a clear
Sure.
date when we are going to do it.
Yeah, and as is production, did you say that you also had a feature?
Pardon?
Did you say before you also had a narrative film that is getting closer to release? Did you say that, or did I mishear something?
Well, two films. I actually have 3 films. One is on Gorbachev, one is Bruce Chatwin, one is Family Romance LLC, which was released now on this streaming platform, Mubi, M-U-B-I.
Yeah, sure, I know that. Yeah.
And I have yet another new film which will be released on Apple streaming.
Sure.
On November 13th. And it will be shown in a few days, or in 2 weeks or so, in Toronto.
Oh, right. Wait, okay, but the Gorbachev, that was never.
Let's not count what I couldn't show. Let's focus on
Nomad.
It's going to be out.
No, and I totally, yes, that's reasonable. That's a reasonable request. But just so I understand, also the Gorbachev, though, that the Gorbachev that film was never released.
It was, yes.
It was, okay.
It was, yeah, and
yeah,
it will be, I think it will be released on History Channel.
Oh, okay.
In the United States, yeah. But it was released theatrically, and it was shown in various festivals in various countries
Right.
and on TV, including, by the way, in Russia. It was shown on Russian TV.
What was the
I think
response there?
Pardon?
Do you know
Very, very favorable. Very great, warm applause for Gorbachev, very clearly. And he's not forgotten, although he has a difficulties that some Russians believe that he was a traitor, giving up the Soviet Union for free.
I guess.
Anyway, it's a completely different subject. Let's not go into that.
But thank you for humoring me anyway about that. Speaking of showing the film, though, how was the BBC's response after assigning you this project to make the film? Were they were obviously very pleased, and also, yes. What about his widow?
I did not speak to her after the film was finished, but I know from BBC people showed her the film and she liked it.
Mm-hmm.
She gave the film the blessing.
Did you have any concern or trepidations about talking to her, while you were?
No, not at all. We always had some very, very sporadic contact. But the difficulty with his widow was that she sometimes didn't remember important things. Sometimes she didn't remember details, and I just had to feed her. And yeah, she said, was it like that way? I said yes, because I have a letter from Bruce from that very day or so. So it was not easy to get some lively accounts out of her. It was more like a feeling, a general feeling of loss, which comes across very nicely.
Sure, right. A little bit of melancholy or
yes,
something. Yeah, again, that's true.
But for the details of biography or so, his biographer Nicholas Shakespeare was much better. He had researched his life and his writings for 8 years and worked on his biography for many, many years. So he's a walking encyclopedia.
Right. When did that come out? When was that published?
I don't know, about 3-4 years or so.
Okay. So not that long ago, right? So
yeah, it's the definitive biography of Bruce Chatwin.
Yeah. So again, the film is coming out on August 26th, I guess in virtual cinemas.
Yes, which is a good thing when most of the theaters are closed. But I think, isn't it being shown at the Film Forum?
Yes, it is.
New York and some. Yeah.
Exclusively on that day, right, on the 26th through whatever, I guess at least.
Yes, I think Film Forum has been very loyal to my movies.
Yeah.
They have a very loyal audience for my films. But of course, you cannot fill the theater. I think they have restrictions and they have to keep 2/3 empty or something like that. But still it is wonderful that they are showing the film.
Yeah, and I urge people to see it. Well, first of all, to support the film is, it's a figure who I know I've read Songlines back in the late 80s when it came out, and so I think it's a great subject, and I was very moved by your friendship with him. Not only does he come to life, but your relationship as an extension of that comes to life in the film. Yeah. And I got a lot more understanding of what makes you tick, actually, I think, from watching. Yeah.
Sure, and I try to do certain service to him.
Yeah.
For example, when I read a text, I read a long passage of a text with my voice, and I do it because he didn't read it. Or for example, he would read almost the entire book of in Patagonia, and but certain passages he didn't. So I would read some excerpt of, for example, Songlines. I read the end of Songlines, which he hadn't done. And although his voice, his physical voice, was very, very different from mine, doesn't matter. I give it a gravitas and I give it an enthusiasm, and I give it its proper size. And people ask, didn't you have any qualms? Didn't you have any problems just to pretend to be Chatwin? No, I don't pretend to be Chatwin. I'm just me, and I read for him. Period.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel that were you aware that you through kind of through telling his story that more people also gain more information about you, more of an inside perspective to what makes you tick as well? Is that?
Yeah, and ultimately, you see, I always hoped that seeing the film would trigger some of the audiences. Oh my goodness, I should buy, let's say, Songlines or on the Black Hill or in Patagonia. I should read his books. If a single book is sold more because of the film, I have achieved what I should have done.
Yeah.
And his books do not age. The books do not age. It's very, very significant what he wrote. And of course, in Patagonia has become a classic. It's among Penguin classics and has sold a million copies, and it keeps selling at a steady pace. And it's his stuff is in for the very, very long haul.
He's the quintessential travel writer. I mean, and far more than that's almost reductive.
No, wrong. He's not a travel writer.
I was going to say it's kind of reductive of me to say that, right?
Yeah, no, that's has been a mistake, which has limited the view, the scope of what he has done.
Let me rephrase.
He was en route. He was en route in Patagonia, in Australia, God knows where, in Prague, in Africa, but he's not a travel writer. His scope of view of the world is way, way beyond travel. It's a very superficial idea to name him, and he hated. You see, Chatwin once said, "I would hate when I'm dead. I would hate to see, for example, in Patagonia, next to in the travel literature, next to Thailand on $5 a day." You see, if that happens, something is wrong. It belongs to the great classic literature.
Well, I'm glad I said it that way, because it gave you the opportunity to set the correction straight for the record. You know, I knew that.
I have to protest.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it.
It happens quite often that you see him labeled as a travel writer. It's totally wrong. It's only a very, very superficial point of view.
Mm-hmm. It's a shorthand, but the problem is it conveys the wrong idea to people who really aren't familiar with what he's doing and what he's accomplished. And
right. For example, Joseph Conrad was not a travel writer.
That's true.
Although it's about the Congo, and he writes about East Asia, and nor is Hemingway a travel writer, although he wrote about bullfights in Madrid and about the Civil War and about Italy and about Cuba and about, Hemingway is not a travel writer either.
Nor are you. I mean.
Nor am I, yeah.
Yeah. Even, do you know how much more time we have? I just want to make sure I don't abuse your time at all. And
no, it's okay.
Oh, great. Okay.
Your question, yeah.
Oh, I was just going. I was just going to bring up, since we have some extra time, maybe a little extra time, one or two things. First of all, my parents, and I lost my father not so long ago, so it especially resonates. But when I was growing up, they, you know, my first real interest in films came as a result of my parents' interests. That's not so unusual. But that was like the first wave, and they were so interested in, you know, you were making at the time Fitzcaraldo and Aguirre and so many of your classics. So they were, I just remember them coming home from the movies and having seen your films in my youth and being so excited. So they introduced me to your films. You know, I only wish my father was here to know that I ended up speaking with you finally. And
I'm sorry for your loss, but I would like to salute him as the one who introduced you
me
to some
too.
of my movies. But there's one thing now different than when you started to see my films, since quite a few, maybe 50, maybe 55 of my films you can find on the internet.
Right.
Not only in streaming, but also DVDs and what you just name it, collections of films, and my films are there. Today they are available for everyone. I get mail, very excited mail of 15-year-olds who discover it.
Oh,
Missoula, Montana, or in India, in Chennai, in India, or young people in Chile, or in Brazil. And they are between 15 and 17 who are the most excited. And they let all their friends know via internet.
right,
And
sure.
all of a sudden, things are very, very present on the internet, and it's the very young ones. And
Well,
they discover my films, and they discover films that I made when their parents were not even born yet.
exactly. Well, how did you know that about that particular demographic or that age group? How did you find out?
They write to me. They send me emails.
How did they know how to reach you?
It's very easy to find me. You just Google my name and my website comes up.
Okay.
And there's an email address and a mailing address, and all my films listed and photos you can download. And
Yeah.
and you can order films if you cannot find a film, like, let's say, Little Dieter Needs to Fly. Just send an email to my office and they'll send it to you. However, they will charge you for burning the DVD and sending it.
Yeah.
But for very little money.
Wow. That's great to know. My son is right in that age group, actually. He's 16. So
Yeah.
I got to introduce him. Well, what do you have a recommendation for my son, Jacob? Like if he was to start to see, to introduce him to his first Werner Herzog film?
Show him The Enigma of Caspar Hauser. Or maybe Aguirre, The Wrath of God.
Oh, that's intense.
Or for example, there's a real classic which wasn't done very long time ago. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
No. Yeah.
No, that's the right film for young people. It has a very, very sharp edge.
It's true. It's true. I saw all
sorry, I have to turn off.
No problem.
Just 1 second, it's my wife.
Oh, sure. Please take it.
Yes, hello. I'm in the interview, sweetie. Okay. All right. So.
All right, I'm going to start him on those films, as you suggest. He's coming back. He's in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Well,
no, there's plenty of films. You dig anywhere and you will always strike gold.
Well, the irony is he probably will want.
I'm joking.
It's right. Whatever vein I strike, it will be gold. Well, he'll probably want to watch The Mandalorian or something, so he won't know who you are. Oh, wait a minute, you're in that.
Yeah.
What I was going to? Oh, okay. This is something I would only ask you, but you can say no.
Yeah.
But some people also know you for your Bavarian accent, your voice, right?
Yeah.
So would you? It would be such a kick for me if you don't mind, and if you say no again, I won't be offended. But if you do like one of those kind of like IDs for my show, is that a possibility?
No, let's not do it. But what you do not fully understand, it's not just my accent.
I know.
My voice has become some sort of a signature, but because of the content, because of the kind of things that I'm saying. And I wrote, for example, commentaries in the film that you can find on Netflix on volcanoes. And at the end, I'm saying, and I'm saying things that you would never ever find or hear in a documentary done by National Geographic. They wouldn't allow such a thing at all. And I'm saying, for example, at the end of the film, the lava which is boiling inside of our planet wants to burst forth and destroy the world. But it is monumentally indifferent. And now I say it, it's the lava under us, it's monumentally indifferent to scurrying roaches, retarded reptiles, and vapid humans alike. And it startles everyone because such a thing you have never heard in a documentary. Speaking of scurrying roaches, retarded reptiles, and vapid humans alike. And people, of course, I say it with my accent. I say it with my accent, and but it's a content. It's a content which is a remarkable part of it.
I know that. I understand, and so I'm honored just to have you decline my request. So don't worry about that. I was really happy not only for you to do this take the time out of your schedule out of the day to do this, but just to have actually seen probably every film over the years. Because if you've seen a few, you got to see them. In a way, you're going to be curious. It's not just about trying to cross every one of your films off of the list. It's not about that, but it's about seeing how you will surprise me or move me again, and how you're going to accomplish that. So, that's why I've probably seen just about everything you've done.
Well, it's too many anyway.
It's a bit, but I'm 56 years old. I've had time to do it. And there have been moments which have been really life-changing when I talk about like a film. So, for instance, in Grizzly Man, and I'll conclude with this because I don't want to abuse our time, but when we cut to you and you're listening to the audio, what was Grizzly Man, the Grizzly Man, the name again? I'm just blanking. What was his name? I'm putting you on the spot.
Timothy Treadwell.
Yeah. And you're listening, and we just see your response to it. That is terrifying.
No, you do not see my response because you see me only from behind.
Back, and we're looking at someone.
You see the response. You see the response of the woman who lived with Treadwell for a while and co-founded Grizzly People, and she tries to read from my face,
right?
What my emotions are, what I'm hearing, and I had to address it. I wouldn't have done it because everyone, the production company, the TV network, and the theatrical distributor, Lionsgate, demanded that I had to address it and I had to play it in the film. And I said, no, I'm gonna listen to it and then I will decide. And against all pressure from all sides, I declined to have it in the film, but I'm addressing the issue.
It's so
you do not see me.
Right.
You do not see me. I was forced to be somehow for 30 seconds in the film.
But did you say
from behind?
And then you recommended to her, unless again I could be wrong, but you said don't. You recommended she should not listen to it.
I even said to her, which was in the shock of the moment, a stupidity, she should destroy it, which she actually slept over it and didn't do. She simply separated herself from the tape and put it into a bank safe deposit box.
Right.
So it's not at arm's length, day in, day out, next to her chair. So, and that was wise, and in a shock of a moment, I'm saying something which was kind of stupid, but she prevailed, and that's wonderful. Yeah, it's a very fine movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And Nomad, I'm really proud of the film.
You should be.
Very proud, yeah.
I want people to see it. The full title is Nomad in the Footsteps of Bruce Chatwin. And if you can, on April 8th, no, excuse me, that was original date, April 26th, you can go to filmforum.org, or is it Film Forum NYC? You can Google it, though. I'll have it in the notes for the show, but you can screen it virtually off of their site. You'll be supporting independent film, and you'll be supporting an independent film organization like Film Forum, which probably desperately needs the support at this point.
Yeah, it's a wonderful theater and the wonderful people behind it. They really mean it, and they are out there to show it.
Exactly. And they went out of their way to make this happen today. So I have yet another reason to be grateful, let alone all the wonderful hours I've spent there watching.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for the time you took.
And same to you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Goodbye and all the best in your exile. All right. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye. Have a good day.